Hey everyone! For this video, we will be moving on to a bit more serious tone. Um, Anne's romantic story, Millie and Jacob. Here we go. Chapter 1. The Inscription. A light. You are mine. My star, my only one. Every single word was carved into Millie's heart the moment she read the inscription. Her unbent fingers were toying with the elegant diamond ring as she lay down on her bed, deep in thought. True love was possible, at least for the one who owned it. It was a dreary Friday afternoon, and Millie was being her usual self when she tripped from her own footsteps and fell flat on the ground. That was when she found the tiny black velvet box, sitting on the gutter, neglected by passerbys. Not minding her embarrassment and her aching scratched knees, she curiously picked up the box and opened it. The object inside was beyond beautiful. She has never held one in all her life. She looked for any identification or leads as to whom it may have belonged to. There was nothing except for the heartfelt inscription that's now embedded in her head. As she lost consciousness to sleep, she whispered those words again silently to her heart. Chapter 2. The Helicopter and Her Forehead. Millie was literally running late, cutting through the park en route to work. She had about a quarter of a mile to go. She usually rides her bike, but she had a flat tire. She was concentrating on not tripping when a delirious remote control helicopter crashed against her forehead. The second after that, she was lying on the grass, delirious herself. The face of an archangel, soulful dark brown eyes, perfectly shaped pointy nose, red moist lips, and a penetrating voice. "Are you okay?" Millie blinked a few times to clear her vision, and blinked some more, a few more times after that. She could not fathom what was happening to her. Her mind defied all logic. All she knew was that her heart raced, and her whole being lifted in a way that's both scary and comforting. It might have been the hard hit from the helicopter that was making her think of all these senseless things. It was all at once, and so confusing. She was drawn to him. She never really came out of her delusion, but she forced herself to stand up. Soon as she did, she sprinted as far as her disheveled self possibly could. The archangel was too shocked to run after her, and could only watch her fade in the distance. Chapter 3. The Meeting. She couldn't be late for work. Not this day. Mrs. Macmillan gave out a memo yesterday. The boss had a very important announcement to make. From the huge cafe window, she already saw her co-workers immersed in a conversation on the circular coffee table. It's 7:08 a.m., she thought. Thank goodness, I still made it. As soon as she opened the door, bright-eyed Mrs. Macmillan turned to her. "Good morning, Oh my goodness! What happened to your forehead?" Millie was initially beaming a full, sparkly smile, which then turned sour upon remembering the events that transpired this morning. She replayed the image of the archangel of a man in her head, and how she was completely blown away by how gorgeous he truly was. And then, an image of herself helpless on that moistened grass, and how she bolted out, trying to save the little bit of dignity she had left. Not exactly how she imagined meeting a potential true love. She knew she would never see him again, but that feeling she felt when their eyes met was... wow. Her clouded vision seemed to have had a clear sight of the gorgeousness of it all. If it was in a different circumstance, she'd probably ogle at him a little more before running away. She was talking to herself way too much now, and didn't notice that her coworkers had already surrounded her, asking if she was okay. By this time, a visible bruise from the helicopter was already embossed on her forehead. After she assured everyone that she was okay, Mrs. Macmillan iced her head and proceeded with the meeting. "I am retiring and leaving my only son in charge of everything around here," is basically the gist of it. Millie's day was on a downward spiral ever since it began. Now she had to deal with the thought of Mrs. Macmillan leaving. It affected her adversely because she loved Mrs. Macmillan. Millie grew attached to her. She was a great employer, but more than that, Millie likened her to her own mother, who passed away early on. Chapter 4. Opening Time. The clock sprinted to 7:50 a.m., 10 minutes before opening time, and she was still lost in her saddened thoughts while checking the inventory for the day. She heard the door swung open, and she said, "Oh, so sorry. We're about to open in 10 minutes. Can I help you?" The moment she lifted her head, she froze like being blasted by an ice blaster. Her facial muscles were immobilized. "It's okay, Millie. It's just my son," Mrs. Macmillan gleefully said. Millie heard a "Hi, Mom," and a smooch. She was still in a state of immobilization and could only watch as her brain tried to process the confusing events of the day. When she finally snapped out of it and felt unfrozen enough to move, she waved stiffly with a soft "Hi." She then dashed out towards the restroom. She was frantic as she breathed in and out. How could it be possible? This archangel of a man. Why is he here? Why is it following her? Why is he all of a sudden part of her life? Why does he have to be the sun? Millie had a lot to comprehend, but this one she already knew. That the very moment the helicopter crashed on her, she, Amelia Park, had come face to face with what would become her life's one true love. So there you go, the first 4 chapters of Anne's romantic story, Millie and Jacob. We hope you liked it, and maybe you could share so you can let Anne know you loved her story. Yeah, so we'll see you maybe on the next part. Bye and have a nice day.